again, we just met, so it's like, it's a conversation.
Yeah, for sure.
Really. I don't really have a set of questions. I mean, I do have one at the end that I like to ask. But I start, Jeremy, with your origin story. Tell me about yourself. You know, where were you born and raised?
Yeah, man. I was born in Hemet, California. A little more inland than San Diego.
San Bernardino.
San Bernardino, yeah. San Bern.
That's right.
Raised there. Early on, I was 11 months old. My pops got into a car accident when we went to the grocery store to get milk and some stuff and didn't make it back. And so 11 months, lost my pops, and then shortly after that, I'd say I was 3 or 4, I believe, and my mom got in a really bad car accident, one in which she was comatose for quite some time, and her rehabilitation caused me to kind of get brought from family member to family member. So those early onset years were, you know, the development of your relationships, your imprinting on those people is kind of really, you know, unnatural. So
unstable.
Unstable indeed, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, what do you remember about those times?
I remember my mom's hair getting she has really long, beautiful, super curly hair. And I remember half of her head was shaved, and I just remember, you know, kind of being weirded out about that as a kid.
How old were you?
I think 4.
Oh yeah.
4 or 5, you know?
Yeah.
One of those early memories kind of things. I just remember being really kind of afraid of that whole situation. But yeah.
So you're going to school around in that time?
Yeah. Yep. Let's see. Yeah, I went to school, elementary school in, I think it was San Jacinto, California. And we kind of used, I believe she used, it was kind of like a Christian church's like after school like babysitting thing. So early on I got a lot of those lessons and values, I guess, instilled in me.
Right. And just any siblings, or is it just you?
Yeah, I've got a, so after my father passed, my mother met my stepfather when I was about 2, heading into maybe 3 years old, and 6 years later, they had my little brother.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah. So and then he has a daughter from a previous marriage.
Oh, gotcha.
So middle child, pretty quick.
Right.
You know, plug in and play middle child.
Yeah,
so,
right.
Yeah.
And so high school, what's going on in high school?
A lot of skateboarding, man. It was my dream, my goal, my everything in it was skateboarding. I wasn't gonna take no for an answer. Every single teacher told me it wasn't gonna happen, that the odds, the statistics, you know, they taught me, and I wasn't hearing it. I was pushing wood, and that was all that was gonna happen, man.
Yeah, I that was my thing in high school too, man. Skating. Skating.
Yeah, I skated the California Amateur Skateboarding League for quite a few sessions or seasons. I got a few sponsors under my belt and stuff, and it was, you know, it was really kind of going anywhere, or it was really going somewhere.
Yeah.
And then you know, the introductory of drugs kind of was right at the end of that, the cusp of, or the pinnacle of my skateboarding career, I call it.
Yeah, let's talk about that. Tell me about that, how that shifted everything.
You know, I'm real leery of blaming it on anything. You know, it comes down to my choice when it's all said and done. But you know, there was some Ritalin. You know, I think my mom was trying everything she could to really help me and to give me the best chance that I had. And part of that was the whole ADD epidemic that came through, that every doctor wanted to get kids on Ritalin.
I don't know how old you are, but like I remember that too.
Yeah.
It was just like
39. I'm gonna be 40 here
so
this year.
We're close, but it's like totally. Yeah, I remember that.
It was just the test was like a knocking on a pin on a filing cabinet and saying my ABCs. And I remember like halfway into that, he's like, "Yeah, you got ADD." We're so,
that was your test.
Okay.
Here's some pills.
Yeah, for real.
Wow.
And so Ritalin was introduced then, and it did have a little play in helping me for a little while. I do remember kind of being a little more focused on work and stuff, and it saw through on the grade side of things. But eventually, she had heard the other side of the argument, and she pulled that real quick. But they were still in there, and I remember that was my first, I think, I guess, experience of mind-altering substance, was taking a little more of those than you should.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and just skate my ass off all night, and that was it. I didn't know anything about meth or nothing like that. I mean, we went through DARE, but so when meth did get introduced, it wasn't a far leap from what I'd been messing with.
Because you're already up.
Yeah.
Skating all night on Ritalin.
Yeah. So
and from what I hear, meth also keeps you up.
Yep.
So it's similar, but maybe more extreme or stronger.
Oh, yeah, man. Way more extreme, and then you have a lot of the side effects as well too with the street drugs. Paranoia and insomnia and all the problems that go with that.
And this is all around Hemet, Riverside, Moreno Valley area?
All of it. Yep.
Gotcha.
I was there till 20s, early 20s, and then some issues would happen. Messing with the wrong people. Those crowds are pretty gnarly. And met some wrong people, and got myself into some trouble with some theft, and had to hightail it out of there. And the move was to be Idaho, where my mother's sister, my aunt, lived. And so 2021, moved to Idaho, and got really just plugged right into some steady work, some construction.
Now, at this time, were you like addicted to meth?
Absolutely.
And then did you take that addiction to Idaho and keep going, or did it like?
No, it snubbed off dramatically. Actually, I still dabbled with pot and stuff all throughout there. I think I was 11 the first time I did pot. So, but no, maybe it was just lack of knowing the scene,
right?
Which could help for a little while, but alcohol was sprinkled throughout there and stuff. A lot of this is a lot of substance abuse, man. So it's just that's the story, But like I said, I got steady employment and kind of realized my work ethic, which turned out to be really, really, really good. One thing I can absolutely thank my stepfather for is instilled a really strong work ethic in me. He was a hod carrier, stucco.
Oh, nice. And
so I helped him out when I was just knee high to a Smurf,
Yeah, so you learned that trade.
Oh yeah, and hard work and getting it done the right way the first time. And so I just want to make sure she doesn't hit my dog. And so cleaned up off. I didn't touch any of the hard stuff for quite a few years there, and then the alcohol kind of reared its head, and the parties became longer, and I sought out some of that stuff a little more. And throughout all of this, man, to be honest with you, a lot of it was attention seeking out the attention that I never really did get with the family, just because of how it worked being a middle child.
Would you say it's something like, I hear attention, but would you relate to it as like wanting to be seen and wanting to be heard?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, you nailed it. It's really, I want to be validated in what I wanted to do too. Like the skateboarding, I think my dad was I guess semi-professional surfer.
Okay.
He was a surf school on Huntington Beach.
Oh, yeah.
He was on that surf team, and so following in those footsteps just naturally through genetics probably, kind of maybe messed with her a little bit, and so I didn't get a whole lot of support from her that way, and so there was a huge wanting and needing to be validated, because the stepdad was sports, baseball. He's the jock kind of guy, and that wasn't my scene, man.
He didn't see skateboarding as like...
No. It was like some punk kid thing, just in the streets.
Right.
I proved him right, but that's besides the point,
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I still played ball and wanted to appease him every way I could. But like I said, it that was my calling. That was everything I wanted to do was just skateboarding, man. Sunlight to sundown, and on and on and on again.
Yeah. Well, in Idaho, did you keep skating?
Oh yeah. Skateboarding. I still skate every once in a while. I'm just old crickety now, but
a lot more fearful.
Yeah, a lot more.
Aware.
Leery. Yeah, the concrete's a lot harder now.
Your balance is not the same.
Yeah. But yeah, first day I moved there, I went to the skate park. It's a pretty sick skate park. Some wood, some really good transitions and stuff. And I just shredded there every day for years.
Nice.
Dude, some of the best friends, some of which I still have today, I met that day when I moved to Idaho. Maybe we'll get into it, but I mean the whole opioid epidemic has been a huge issue.
Yeah, well, you're talking about you started drinking.
Yeah.
And I always look at, we all have our vices. We're all coping with something. And I look at drugs, legal or illegal, as a coping mechanism.
Yeah.
It's like, what are we coping with, and et cetera. And alcohol is one of them. People can cope with all kinds of things, working too much, whatever.
Yeah.
But it's like and there's also this curiosity too of like, what are these, like, what is this going to feel like? My guess is, and what's this going to do? And then there's, of course, addiction and consequences to all this stuff.
Man, yeah, you're not kidding.
But tell me about your, introduction to opioids. Like, how does that happen?
It was really sprinkled in with pain pills. Okay. I think with a lot of people during that time where oxys was just getting written like it's nobody's business.
Right.
And so it wasn't really a thing. None of my addiction was like, besides maybe with meth. Like meth was pretty quick. It was pretty quickly, at least observed on my part, that this is an issue and I need to stop this shit. Like. That was pretty obvious pretty quick, but the other stuff was really subtle. And it wasn't an issue. It wasn't like I needed it the next day. It was just like, cool, that was cool. I skated all day, didn't get hurt, and, or I did get hurt and I took one of these things and I felt better, I could skate again. But it did, I did make a move from Idaho to Minneapolis, Minnesota, and in that region there's a lot of heroin. And so, and apparently not a lot of pain pills, because after the flood of pain pills was the pulling of the pain pills.
Right.
And so they kind of tried to recorrect themselves by over pulling everything back, which led a lot of us out in the streets, because that's where it was. It was a lot more prevalent, a lot cheaper. And so that, and I fell into that category. As sought that out, and it got me pretty good. I'd say about 26 I was, and it was pretty heavy. I was kind of dating a girl who had been left a substantial amount of money from her grandfather, so I didn't know about the criminal aspect of it. To get it, I didn't really have to. We didn't have to worry about that.
Oh, I see. To get your fix.
Yeah, because she had money. She had a lot of money.
And this time you're living where, like, where you were housed?
I was kind of couch surfing with my cousin, but I was working 2 jobs for a little while.
Oh, yeah.
He was working at a badass skate park out there too, building ramps and stuff like that. And I worked at a sandwich shop, and I sold shoes at a big retail store and stuff. So. Had plenty of money to party and stuff like that, and I still was holding on pretty good as far as responsibility goes. Right. But it was a time of still functioning and having a good time, man.
Yeah.
It wasn't real dark and dreary yet. It was a lot of fun. Yeah, and ended up dating a girl, Julia, for a while there, and I think that's where I realized the actual addiction itself, when she really wanted to spend time with me and I wanted to spend time with her, but I still kept kind of finding myself seeking this other thing out a lot more often. Even though I desperately wanted to do something different, I was like still kind of following this path of almost, I guess, just repetitive. It's just what I've always done, so might as well do it again, I guess. Or but that was, I think, my first experience around 27, 28 of wanting to stop and really not being able to.
You couldn't stop.
I couldn't stop. Yeah, man, and that that was a shitty feeling, dude. Like that brought a whole load of questions, man, and it really did. It started like this whole kind of self-seeking journey of like, who the hell am I? Because skateboarding obviously wasn't gonna go to where I wanted it to go at that point. I was already getting older and kind of beat up. Bumps and bruises were adding up, and then this whole addiction thing, it wasn't viable. So then there was this huge, well, who the hell am I? If I'm not the skater, stoner kid, then
identity crisis a little bit.
Yeah, man, huge, dude. And,
which is like, I hope everyone gets to that point and asks those bigger questions.
Yeah.
Like, who am I? What am I doing here? Those existential, like, like, what am I doing with my time? And all that stuff. It matters. I hope.
Man. Oh, yeah.
I hope.
Yeah, shit, yeah. Me too, man.
And what did you discover?
Dude, like...
Or still discovering.
Yeah, still discovering,
of course,
for sure.
Of course.
Definitely. But, like I said in the beginning with, my mom using that as like a daycare to the Christian side, like I've always believed that there's a higher power. I call him God, Jesus, whatever. Like I've always felt like there was something there. And almost, I think a little more than some people, just because of, going through that trauma as a kid, even though I was really young, that affected me.
Yeah,
like, and it's still recognizing it now, especially looking back, that affected me pretty significantly. And having that, I remember, it wasn't, I didn't know what praying was, but I remember talking to, like, the dude, the big Lebowski in the sky, right? Like, I just remember talking to him, and I was trying to just stand upright and just watch my P's and Q's and get everything down pat. But yeah, man, trying to shoot straight and falling back and, like, talking to what I know now is God, but trying to be like, I'm sorry, we'll do that again, and then doing it again, and that whole rigmarole of
cycle.
Yeah, and it was, dude, and it affected me too, of this whole, like, again, I think the addiction aspect of wanting to be something but not finding the tools to live it out. Like, it's all good in word, but it falls in application. And so that still follows me, man. I still have a problem with that. Like this inner battle of knowing what I want to do and this beautiful painting of what I want my life to be, but just not having a brush to kind of finish it out or get to it, But to get back into the opiate crisis, I started losing people a lot, and I didn't know what it was at the time, but that wound that was, I think, created when my dad died, really, and then my mom's accident and kind of being thwarted around through family members, was relationships. It was this thing, like, I really want to be with somebody and have that thing, but it was unattainable, and which kind of echoed in my mind as unworthy, and like I wasn't enough or whatever, which is a pretty shitty feeling. And I found that I've lost more people than I can really count. To be honest with you, I lost a girlfriend in 2010 in a car accident. One of my best friend, Frankie's, was hit by a car skateboarding in Winchester. It was a hit and run, and he got killed. I spent a lot of times at his gravestone too, because his picture is the high school picture in the yearbook, and just drinking beer, talking to him and stuff, and like that's been a huge issue in my life for how many people I've lost, but the inability to grieve, like not knowing how to, and carrying it with me nonstop. Is still an issue. It's actually segues into why I'm in Washington, from Idaho. I just recently lost one of my best friends, Tori, which marks, I think, 8 of my adult circle of friends. It's just really dwindled down to just a couple. And then, some of the choices that I've made have just really ostracized myself from them. So you know, even that's on the rocks and stuff. So, you know, not to get into the poor me stuff, but death has been a constant companion, and it's been something that has interested me, almost to the point of, like, you know, macabre a little bit, maybe. I've read at least a dozen near-death experience books. You know, I've really sought out the afterlife stuff, man. You know, just to find out, because we're all going to meet that day.
Yeah, that's one of the great questions, right? Like, what happens when we die?
Yeah.
It's one of the great mysteries that, and we're all,
every one of us have that appointment, dude.
We're going to face that day.
Yeah, man. And so I just want to do some research, I guess, you know?
Yeah, oh, sure, man, yeah. Well, let's see, you came to Washington, why?
Like I said, my buddy had just passed. And
that person was in Washington?
And he was in Idaho. I just, I had heard how kind of, I had heard that the homeless were treated really well, in that they were being able to be housed through a program, which, you know, is kind of, I've been here about 5-6 months, I think.
Okay.
My family, my mom's side of the family is from Washington, all over Deer Park. There's still some there, so some familiarity with at least stories of this place.
Gotcha.
That's awesome. But that was really the fuel to just, man, if I could be brutally honest, I gave up. I gave up. Losing Tori is one of the first dudes I met in Idaho. That skate day, and just recently it was enough to really just tip the scales and just say fuck it, man. And I came up here to just do a drug run, man, and just
gotcha. Just
kind of adios, you know.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, were you housed in Idaho? Or I guess the question is, like, when did you become unhoused?
I've been on and off since
gotcha.
17, 18, 16. Okay. And a lot of that was just like the meth stuff. Like, my mom wasn't gonna have it. She was really hard-nosed about it, which she should have been. But I'm also very fucking stubborn, so it was like stopping wasn't an option. It was like, yeah, I'll show you, I can handle this.
Right.
And unfortunately, you know, I did handle it. I handled it pretty well, at least in regards to finding somewhere safe enough to sleep, not being killed.
Yeah.
You know, it's because the streets are pretty rough in a lot of places, man.
So from Idaho, you came to Washington. You didn't have a place to live or sleep or anything.
Nope.
So what did you?
Dude, it started off downtown.
Gotcha.
Honestly, downtown in the which I've known from, you know, living in San Diego and around those parts, how, you know, the homeless kind of take advantage of the storefronts when the store closes, and so I've always saw that and really did. I just plugged into that. I went through this whole winter, and I've never known tough like this. I've been in some tough places, but honestly, this is one of the toughest street spots I've ever been. And I think, you know, me and you talked about I guess the division between the housed and the unhoused is so thick here. And if I could be real, man, that's a lot of hate. Is really what I feel, you know. And maybe it's just because I'm so the opposite way. I'm 180 away from hate. I just, you know, I'm that whatever hippie child or something, you know. But I really do kind of try to bring peace and bring a good vibe with me wherever I go. And it was met with a lot of the opposite here, which I wasn't used to.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, it's interesting because, you know, Seattle's such a liberal city.
Yeah.
And again, there's a big gap between the housed and unhoused.
Yeah, huge. I had just found out. I was sleeping at a spot up in Capitol Hill. I was in front of a church, and without saying too much about the place, but they were very, very welcoming. And I would just roll up my sleeping bag right in front of the doors there, and roll them up in the morning. She'd even meet me with a cup of coffee sometimes. Well, somebody was sleeping right there, dude, and somebody came in with an axe while he was sleeping, bro. And I slept right there, dude.
Yeah.
Like, that tripped me out, you know, because, yeah, it's easily to me.
Well, it makes you think, of course, could that have been me?
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, which is scary.
Hella scary. And then, you know, and I really do. I try to be the. It's not like I'm gonna take on the whole damn thing. I don't have any, you know, notions that that's gonna take place. But I really do try to, I guess, tip the scales a little bit. Yeah. You know, once I take care of my head, you know, picking up trash or whatever, just, you know, saying some kind words, holding doors open, whatever it may be. There's little things to try to show people that it's not all just one category. That
that's
there's many facets to even this side of the life. Because you know, some of the guys out here are assholes, man.
Yeah. It's just people. House run house.
Like, straight up, yeah.
It's just everyone's different.
People. There's an ass for every seat, man. You know what I'm saying?
There you go.
And so, yeah.
Well, Jeremy, is there anything that you'd want to say to the people of Seattle?
You know, I don't think I've ever seen such a beautiful city. The skyline's unbeatable, for one, and I really hope to be welcomed here. And I really have a lot of fortitude to you know, get back into recovery, honestly, and to do some work on the other side of this thing with counseling. I think I've done enough research that, you know, I can start applying some of that stuff. I have a heart to reach out and try to help some people, man. Yeah. So I'd really like to take part in this community, man, and to be something for the solution rather than the problem.
Yeah. So what is that? I hear that vision. How do you get there?
Honestly, first and foremost is taking care of this addiction. It's detoxing and getting over, which is the biggest fear of an opiate addict, is the sickness of getting off of it or not having enough. And once that's done, then it's really about getting back into school. And I've already proved to myself that I could do that. I took Algebra 1010 and my first year of psych just to see if I could do it. And I was able to still retain knowledge. So this thing's still working enough to get it done, man. So, yeah, and it's obviously going to take some support too, man, which is what I hope to have.
Well, I'm glad you came to the Commons, man. It's a solid place.
Yeah.
There's a lot of resources and good people here, man.
Dude, that's the vibe I got, man, right away too. Yeah.
Right on, man.
Good vibe. A lot of hope.
Yeah. Yeah, hope is well, I've heard hope can be a dangerous thing too, but it's also an amazing thing.
Yeah, right? Man. Without it, you're gray and cardboard, man.
Right. What is it?
Yeah.
Well, thanks, man. Thanks for sharing part of your story. It's good to meet you, dude.
Yeah, for sure, man.
Yeah. Yeah, hang in there, dude.
Yeah, dude.
Hang in there, dude.
Sure.
I'm like, let's go skate.